A few weeks ago, some Arizona voters did something pretty wild. They created a brand new city. But this isn't one of those random desert developments. This new city already has more than 100,000 people living there, and it's growing faster than almost anywhere else in the state. Now that it's officially a city, I think it's about to explode in popularity just like Gilbert and Queen Creek did over the past decade. And if you're thinking about moving to the Phoenix area, this is one place that really does need to be on your radar. In this video, I'll show you where it is, why I think it's destined for greatness, and where it ranks among the best places to buy a home in the Phoenix Metro. Now you're probably wondering why it took so long for this place to become a city with so many people who are already living there. Well, for a long time, there was an effort by the cities around it to prevent it from becoming one, and here's why. So imagine that all the state income, vehicle, gas, and sales taxes are these jelly beans, and then this big cup is the state of Arizona collecting them from everyone who lives here. Then you have these smaller cups, which are all the cities and towns in the state. After Arizona's collected all the jelly beans, it then turns around and puts them back into these cups, which is all of the funding that these places get for their public services. Now, if you live in a place that isn't represented by these smaller cups, you still have to give your jelly beans to the state. But because you don't live in an incorporated city or town, you don't have a cup for the state to give you any of those sweet, delicious jelly beans. You'd think they'd at least spare these awful popcorn flavored ones. And after years of giving away their jelly beans and never getting any back, people started to get upset and asked to be incorporated so that they could have a cup for the state to put their jelly beans back into. But the other cups, they weren't too excited about this because one extra one means less jelly beans for them. And for years, they actually blocked this place from being able to get a cup because the law required that all the cups had to agree to allow one more to be placed at the table. Then in 2022, that law was changed to where only a few of the cups had to agree to add another one. And that finally led to the vote which officially put the name on this new cup, Santan Valley. So where exactly is this place? Well, if you've been doing your research on places to live in the Phoenix Metro, I can almost guarantee that you've looked at Santan Valley's closest neighbor, the town of Queen Creek. Santan covers a huge area to the south and east of Queen Creek, and it's been a really popular area for people who want to be close to Queen Creek, but pay a ton less for a home. Right now, the median home price in Queen Creek is about $643,000, but over in Santan Valley, that number drops all the way down to $451,000. And that almost $200,000 in savings doesn't mean that you're getting a really stripped down house. Santan Valley has a ton of builders selling some really nice homes that are very similar to the ones that you'll find in Queen Creek. And this is a really good time to take advantage of the current pricing out here because a few years from now, I think Santan Valley is going to catch up to the other East Valley cities. So why do I feel so confident that it's about to explode? Well, now that it's a city and will start getting state funding, it clears the way to start adding services that everybody needs, but until now, there's been no way to develop or pay for any of it. For years, the people living in Santan Valley have had to come out of their own pocket and buy a membership to a private company for fire and emergency medical services, because without an official town, you can't have an official fire department. That'll be one of the first things the new town council looks to add, along with creating a police force. Now, those aren't going to make it into the tourism video from the Chamber of Commerce, but this next one will. If you take a drive around Santan Valley right now, you'll probably think it looks a lot like most other places that you've seen before. There are a ton of subdivisions with little shopping centers sprinkled in, but something you won't find is any open space that isn't a field belonging to a local farmer. That's because until now, Santan Valley has been relying on Pinal County for everything, which apparently didn't feel that putting any parks and open space in the Santan area was a priority. Meanwhile, over in Queen Creek, the local residents get to enjoy a ton of parks that will have everything from elaborate playgrounds, splash pads, sport courts, and even fishing lakes. These parks will fill up with kids and their sports teams throughout the week, and they also host a ton of big events put on by the town. And having that sense of community has been pretty important to most of the clients who I've helped to relocate here, and it was also something that was really important to my family when we moved here too. Since we didn't have any friends or family in the area, we wanted a way to meet people, and living next to a big city park where they have a lot of events and festivals was a great way to do that. And in the coming years, the folks in Santan Valley will have the same opportunity. Now, as great as getting a new fire and police department and adding some local parks will be, what I believe will really cause Santan Valley to explode is actually the thing that a lot of people will hold against it. and this has happened a few times already in the East Valley. Let me explain. So one of the most popular areas in all of Phoenix over the last few decades has been the town of Gilbert. You'll see it all the time on lists for the best places to live in Arizona, and the current population is right around 280,000 people. But 40 years ago, there were only 3,900 people living there. And back then, if you would have told someone in Phoenix that you were thinking about moving out to Gilbert, they would have probably told you,
"What the was wrong with you? Gilbert is way out of town. It's nothing but a bunch of fields and the smell of cow manure."
Fast forward to the year 2000, and people would have said the same thing about Queen Creek, which at the time had an almost identical population to Gilbert in the 80s with just over 3,800 people. Now, Queen Creek's estimated to have close to 87,000 residents, and nearly 20,000 of those have arrived within the last 5 years alone. So how did these two massively popular towns go from being tiny dots on the map where nobody really wanted to live into what they are today? Well, for Gilbert, a lot of the growth really started to accelerate in the 90s when the Loop 202 freeway system was taking shape. This finally connected Gilbert to its neighbors in Chandler, Tempe, and Mesa, and people started moving there in droves thanks to all the new housing developments that were popping up on those former cow pastures. Over in Queen Creek, the groundwork for the boom started in September of 1989 when the town voted to incorporate. This gave the residents more control over how their town would be developed, since they'd be making the rules and not just have them handed down from the county. Santan Valley's already ahead of the curve population-wise, but there's still a ton of people who will say that it's too far out, just like people once did with Gilbert and Queen Creek. And right now, it is a pain trying to go from parts of Santan Valley into the more central part of the Phoenix Metro. But there's a major project being considered by the state that could change that entirely. This is still in the planning and research phase, but the Arizona Department of Transportation would like to build a new freeway called State Route 505 that would start at the US 60 in Apache Junction, run south through the heart of Santan Valley, and continue on before meeting up with Interstate 10 near Eloy. Now, they're not even expecting to be done with the study portion of this project until sometime in 2027, so don't get too excited. But if it does eventually get the green light, it will be a major win for all the areas of the East Valley where traffic congestion has been a huge problem. But even that hasn't slowed down the growth in the area, and Santan Valley is going to keep getting bigger and better, especially now that it's taken control over its future development. So where would I rank Santan Valley as one of the best places to buy a home in the Phoenix Metro? Well, it's definitely in the top 10, but it doesn't quite make my top 5. I actually use a 4-part system to score zip codes on how desirable they are, and you should watch this video next, where I'll show you how this works and reveal my 5 best places to buy a home in Greater Phoenix.